Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. And in today's video, we're going to go over some latest news that's been happening over today or the last few days, all across Iran, China, and I'm also going to be talking about any major news that's been happening. So in my last video, I talked about Netanyahu's video being fake and how Israel was going out of its way to prove to everyone that Netanyahu is still alive. And he's becoming quite desperate because every video they release of Netanyahu since then has been proved to be fake in some way or other. And it's almost like they are becoming very desperate to prove that he's still alive. And it's becoming a joke, guys, because so many people are analyzing these videos they're releasing and they all seem fake, absolutely fake. For example, they released this one today. And in this video, it shows that this fake AI video, someone's pointing out that the grills at the bottom do not match the same video that was released a month ago in February. So the grills are completely different from the original grills. So again, it shows they are hiding something. But this is not the only video that they released. They released other strange videos as well. For example, they released a video with Mike Huckabee. And you can see clearly Mike Huckabee's face is morphing. Can you see that, guys? Can you see his face morphing? It's definitely AI, definitely 100% AI. Because nobody's face morphs like Huckabee's face does. It's, watch again. See that? See that, guys? 100% is AI. See how hard they are trying to go out their way just to prove some of these videos are real. And also another thing, he's also got four fingers here. He's got missing, so when he shakes the hand, one of the fingers goes missing. Can you see? So again, this is a fake AI video. And they're just going out of their way, guys, to make all these AI videos. And they're all coming out to be fake. I don't know what they're playing at. They should just announce Netanyahu's dead already, because making all these fake videos is just making them look bad at this point. Because when Netanyahu's eventually news comes out that he's actually dead, the whole world would know that Israel has been trying to lie to the whole world, trying to, basically trying to lie and say he's still alive, sending all these AI videos. I mean, already Israel's reputation is ruined, and this is just going to completely ruin it because people are going to think they're a bunch of liars, cheats. They hide the truth. What else have they been hiding? All that lies about Gaza and all this stuff. No one's going to ever believe them. And they're just ruining their own reputation by doing stuff like this. It's absolutely it's out of this world. I mean, I can understand why they don't want to release it because it's embarrassing for them that a leader was taken out by Iran. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to give Iran any credit, and they're losing this war. They don't want to show the world that they're losing this war, so they are having to make up all these lies and deceit. But the truth will come out, guys. Truth will come out. Wait and see. So I wanted to talk about this story where Marjorie Taylor Greene had said that Congress is trying to pass 100 billion war supplemental for this war in Iran, and 100 billion, guys, it's just not going to be enough. I mean, the amount of ammunition, amount of damage that this war has caused, it's going to be more than 100 billion. Plus, they're going to lose a lot more in the future because they're gonna, you know, America's lost its image around the world. They've lost their, invincibility. One of the reasons they were projecting power around the world is mainly because countries were scared to fight them. Countries were scared if they attack or if they attack any American bases, the whole country would be destroyed by America. But Iran has showed that America is just a paper tiger, and other countries are going to look at this and think, "Hey, you know what, America is a paper tiger. All you have to do is beat them and keep this war going long as possible, because America cannot, it cannot win battles when it's a long war. America loves short wars. They love the Iraq thing, shock and awe. They love short wars. They love to use their aircrafts and bombers, stealth aircrafts, B-52s, B-2s, bomb the smithereens out of countries. But after that, they don't know what to do. They're completely lost. They think, oh, what should we do now? Should we go in for another 20 years like Iraq and Afghanistan, or should we take an off ramp and leave? Because if America leaves now, no country will have any confidence in America whatsoever, because America has left so many of its allies recently. They've left Ukraine. They've obviously, remember when they left Afghanistan? America was one of those unreliable partners. They will never ever stick with you. They will always let you down, because at the end of the day, it's all about American interests. And now they're going to leave the Middle East because the way things are going, all the American bases are being destroyed. They are losing all of their aura in the Middle East. They're losing all their radars, anti-aircraft systems. They won't be able to house any bases in the Middle East whatsoever. They're all sitting ducks. So they're going to have to leave these Middle East bases. And once this war is over, the Middle Eastern countries are going to kick out America, because they realize America is not there to protect them. America is there to protect Israel. And these Arabs are just there as human shields. So I think a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, Arabs, these Gulf leaders, they're all realizing this. They're all puppets. And things will change after this war. They're already changing now. I think they're already making plans what to do. And if Iran wins this war, which looks like they will, then these Middle East countries will have no choice but to go to Iran for security. They will say, you know what, you know, let's form some sort of alliance, let's form our own security, let's get rid of these American bases, and we'll basically provide our own security. We'll use Iranian troops, Iranian um, kind of weapons and things like that, and Iran would be the leading superpower in that region, because that's the only country that has stood against the might of America and Israel at the same time. And so they will be seen with a lot of respect. And I think the whole region will change after that. Whole region will change. And I think if America leaves the region, there would be peace. And all Iran needs to do is get a nuclear weapon. If they can get a nuclear weapon, then the whole region would be at peace forever, because Israel will never be able to threaten Iran ever again, because both countries have nukes. Israel has nukes, Iran would have nukes, so they would cancel each other out. Iran would never, I mean, Israel would never think about attacking any other Muslim country again. And the whole region would change. And I think Israel would be forced to have some sort of peace deal with Palestinians, with Hamas, and I think the whole region would change, guys, completely. And all Iran needs to do is win this war and get a nuclear weapon, and I think that will be it. That will be the end of American adventure in the Middle East. They will have no choice but to leave. So yeah, so they're going to pass. Looks like 100 billion Trump war supplemental to fight this war. And I think they're going to get some ground troops in there as well. If they send the ground troops in there, there's going to be a bloodbath, guys. Absolute bloodbath. I mean, Iran has been training for this for over 50 years. And Americans will not know what hit them. You know, it's just, it's just crazy to think American ground troops would be able to do anything because Iran is built like a fortress. It's surrounded by mountains, and it's Iran's home turf. Plus, Iran has sophisticated, surveillance, radar, and satellites, so they will know exactly where these American troops are, and then they will rain down missiles and drones at them. It's not like the Iraq War. When the Iraq War was fought, Iraq had literally nothing to fight back with against the American might. They had no, good missiles. They had no drones. They had no satellites. So they were blind, guys. But this war would be different. If American troops go in there, they would be absolutely slaughtered, guys. Absolutely. There will be no contest whatsoever. So imagine losing 100 billion fighting this war over nothing. And and it's just a long-term effects, guys. Because if America loses this war and they lose the Middle East, they will lose the petrodollar. Because one of the only reason the American dollar is strong because the American military keeps it strong, and the way the American military keeps it strong is they have bases all around the world, 800 bases, and especially in the Middle East. And these Middle Eastern countries have no choice but to trade oil in dollars. So it's almost like a gun to your head, having these bases at your country. You basically got a gun pointed at your head, saying you better trade your oil in dollars, or else it's like mafia kind of diplomacy. So all these Gulf countries, if America leaves the region, these Gulf countries would be free, and they can start trading in other currencies outside the dollar. They can trade in the Chinese yuan, trade with the Russian ruble, or trade with their own currency, or maybe a future BRICS currency, or maybe they can trade in euros. Who knows? But the point is, they don't have to trade in dollars anymore, and the dollar would fall immediately, guys. There would be huge amounts of inflation in America. All these dollars will start flooding back to America. There will be huge inflation. There will be riots everywhere. People will not be able to afford anything. It's going to be absolute mayhem. So if America loses the petrodollar, that's the end of of America. Full stop. It literally will collapse overnight. So this is why staying in the region is going to be very, very important for America. But I just don't see how they can stay in the region in this war. And I think this is a major, major trap for Trump. He's put himself in. America's lost its invincibility. They're losing a fighting war now against Iran. Iran will be happily be supplied by Russia and China for forever. If this is a forever war, that will happen. One thing Afghanistan and Iraq didn't have at the time was a strong Russia and China partnership. But now Iran has. Everything's going wrong for America now. Everything's going wrong. And now Israel's lost Netanyahu. And if America falls, if the dollar falls, then Israel will fall as well. Because Israel is propped up by America. Israel is only powerful because America provides it money, weapons, diplomatic cover. So if American dollar falls and America falls, Israel will fall with it. And yeah, it's not looking good for the region, guys. Not looking good at all. Imagine what Trump could have done with $100 billion. Such a waste of money over a war that did not need to happen whatsoever. So talking about Trump, he was supposed to go to China on end of March. Looks like it's not going to happen. A few days ago, he was threatening China to send ships to open up the Hormuz Strait. He wanted China's help, basically. And he says if China doesn't help, then I'm not going to go to China on the trip. Like if China cares. First of all, China did not invite Trump to come. Trump is basically inviting himself to go to China. So in fact, it's probably going to be a big relief to China if Trump doesn't come, because I'm sure she does not want to be seen shaking hands with Trump and in front of all his photographers and things like that. He does not, you know, he does not even like Trump. They remember the time in the first term when Trump was being extremely racist to Chinese and you know being extremely aggressive to China at the time. So China never forgets this. So the fact is, he wants to come to China. Obviously, China's not going to refuse a sitting president of the United States to come to China. They're not going to refuse that. But, but I think the reason Trump wants to delay the trip is not because of the war. Well, it's kind of because of the war, but the main reason is he doesn't have any cards. Because I think what Trump wanted was he wanted to have a quick win in Venezuela, and he also wanted to have a quick win of the war in Iran. And then he wanted to go to China and offer those cards. He wanted to go to China and say, "Look, I've taken Venezuela, I've taken Iran, I now control the oil. So I want this from you, I want that from you, I want this from you. Otherwise, I'm not sending you any oil from these countries." He wanted to do something like that, I believe, to China. He wanted to basically blackmail them with Venezuelan oil and Iranian oil. And I think that's what he wanted. And the fact that his plan's not working, he's got no cards to play with. He's got nothing to bargain with. He's got no cards, and he knows he would go to China empty-handed. And yeah, I think that's why he's postponed it. I think he thinks that he can still win this Iran war, but he's not. Iran has survived 10 years of the war with Iraq. And at the time, Iraq was being, basically given so many weapons by the West. You know, Iraq was flooded with weapons by the West. They were given chemical weapons, and Iran survived that. And I'm sure they can survive another 10 years fighting America and Israel because they've been preparing themselves for 50 years for this. So yeah, I don't think China cares whether Trump comes in or not. I think the fact that Trump is asking for China's help is quite ridiculous, to be honest. The whole world is shocked. The whole world, including British media and Western media, they're all shocked that Trump is blatantly asking for China's help. At the end of the day, you broke it, so you fix it. China or none of the countries around the world expected America to go all guns blazing and fight Iran for no reason whatsoever except for Israel. Even the Europeans are washing their hands off this war. None of the Europeans want to come and help Trump. And Trump basically says, "Oh, I need help from the Europeans and NATO." And now he's putting a sissy fit. He's saying, "Oh, I'm going to pull out of NATO. I don't need the Europeans anyway. I don't need anyone. We are the most powerful military in the world." And in the next sentence, he goes, "Yeah, we need some help. We need some help here. We need NATO's help." He just can't make up his mind. In the same interview, he just keeps changing his words and stories. It's becoming ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. So this is a story where China's now got two chip making giants in China producing 7 nanometers. So basically, there's a company called Huawei Microelectronics. They are now making 7 nanometers chips as well as SMIC. So they've got two giants basically making these chips. And I said before, like, I used to make lots of videos earlier in my YouTube career, and I used to talk about chips as well. And it was all down to Trump that, kind of was pushing self-sufficiency, especially in the chip sector, because of Trump's first term. Because if you remember, Trump basically sanctioned China with chips, so China wasn't allowed to buy any high-end chips from American or even the TSMC. So even they weren't allowed to sell to Chinese companies. Companies like Huawei were not allowed to get any high-end chips, and they were trying to destroy Huawei. They were trying to destroy Chinese manufacturing by basically withholding chips. Yeah, so China fought a long war to become self-sufficient. They basically went from ground up all the way from university level, teaching students how to build semiconductors and teaching them about the technology, all the chip buildings. And so they're breeding a new generation of Chinese youngsters who are well versed in the semiconductor sector. China was also working on their fabs to try and build all the latest technology and machines to build these fabs. China was also putting money into research and development, building individual components that you need. For example, like the laser, like the glass, the mirrors. So China's putting a lot of effort into to making this semiconductor supply chain into reality, and they've worked very hard over the last, let's just say 10 years or so, and they've gone a long way. But it's not just, Huawei, Huawei Microelectronics and SMIC. There's also Huawei as well. And there's also lots of other companies making fabs as well. So they are catching up to the West. I think they're probably one or two generations behind TSMC, but they are very, very fast catching up. And give it another 1 or 2 years. But you know what, guys? I'm gonna skip this discussion with the chips. I think that needs a whole separate topic and a separate video because otherwise I'm just gonna go on talking about it forever. I'm gonna skip it for now. But yeah, I think I just wanted to share this information that there's two chip making giants now in China, and then closely followed by Huawei and and there's many other companies out there who are also leading as well. So I'll come back to this and do a whole video on it pretty soon. So Trump is also talking about invading Cuba. I mean, what does Trump want with Cuba? You know, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Cuba is being absolutely strangled. They're treating Cuba like Gaza. They're basically there's no power in Cuba. People are living in darkness. There's no power in hospitals. People are dying. Babies are dying. He's basically not allowing any of energy or oil to go into Cuba. So what is the point? Because Cuba doesn't really have any natural resources. So what does he want to do? Invade Cuba and turn it into another Puerto Rico? Who knows what his plans are? But what is the advantage of United States doing that? There is no advantage, guys. No advantage whatsoever. If they take on Cuba, then they're going to have to be in charge of the security there. You know, and they're going to have to kind of pay for all the infrastructure, pay for all the people. Cuba is a poor country, so if they take on Cuba, they're going to have to pay for a lot of the stuff. So what is the point? I just don't understand. I mean, if Cuba, any American president would be easily take over Cuba, but I think a lot of presidents, so it's just not worth it. As soon as they start taking over Cuba, people are going to hate United States for it. None of the Cubans would be happy about being colonized. Secondly, they're going to have to pay for everything. They're going to have to pay for every single aspect of society in Cuba. They're going to have to pay for all the food and energy, infrastructure, and pay all the Cuban people. Build jobs. America will have to be in charge of all of that. Do they really want to do that? Don't think so. I don't know what the hell Trump is playing at here, guys. You know, just give them the energy, give them what they need. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So finally, I wanted to talk about this tweet somebody sent out, and basically said that who is the winners and losers in the Iran war. So some of this stuff I agree with, but some of it I don't agree with, by the way. So let's talk about it. So he says the winners are Russia. I agree with that. Russia is the main winner. You know, they are making lots of money with oil as well as gas as well. America has also released some of the sanctions on Russia, and with all the and also America is also spending all its resources on this Iran war, which means there's not going to be any resources for Ukraine. So Russia should be able to finish off Ukraine much, much faster because Ukraine is not going to get what it needs from United States or from the rest of the world because everyone's focused on Iran. So Singapore and Thailand, UAE money is flowing in. I agree with that, but I think UAE money is flowing in other places. I think a lot of UAE money is actually going to China and Russia. People don't really know that, especially China. A lot of people don't see. I know a lot of Arabs that live in Dubai, and I know for a fact that they are moving all of their assets to China, and a lot of Dubai businesses are moving to China. So it's not just Singapore and Thailand, guys. I think not many people know about it, but they are actually moving to China, and China will happily accept a lot of these people that come in. Um, so yeah, so the other winner, it says China. China's winning because of the growing influence. They are seen as the mature party in the world at the moment. You know, the only crazy party here seems to be the Israelis and the United States. They are starting wars everywhere. They are not following international law. They are pretty much doing what they want. They are invading this country, attacking another country for silly reasons. And you can see Trump is absolutely deranged. So America is losing a lot of respect and friends, and China is actually gaining a lot of respect and friends because China is following international law. China is not going out, becoming crazy and invading countries, attacking countries for no reason. So China is the actual mature person in the room, and America is like the little spoiled school kid or the bully. So that's definitely China. Um, he's mentioned that losers is Iran. I don't think Iran is the loser here, guys, because if Iran wins this war against United States, Iran would be a major winner because if Iran wins this war, right, they will gain a lot of respect in the region and in the world for standing up against United States and Israel at the same time. Secondly, they would be the regional superpower in the Middle East because if you can fight America and Israel by yourself and still beat them, other countries will look at you and as a big brother, and they'll want you to protect them as well, rather than paying America and Israel to protect them. They would rather look at Iran to do it. Thirdly, I think all these sanctions are going to be released because as part of Iran is winning this war, and if America wants Strait of Hormuz to be free, then they're going to have to abide by Iran's conditions. And one of the conditions is for sanctions relief and all the American bases to leave the area and a few other things. But Iran will come out of this with lots of positives, and they will get lots of sanctions relief because if they don't, then American ships will never bypass the Hormuz Strait, and America will lose a lot of money because of it. So I think Iran could win this, as long as they win this war, and even if they are destroyed, um, there's a lot of damage in Iran. Iran can claim it back in damages because whoever wins the war normally claims the damages back, and they can claim these damages back from the United States and from Israel. Otherwise, no American ships or Israeli ships would ever pass the Hormuz Strait ever again. They would completely close that for American and Israeli ships. And they would lose a lot. And also, there'll be no American bases in the region because Iran will keep attacking them until they leave. So there'll be no security for America. There'll be no money in America. They'll be forced to leave the region. So either way, they will lose. So they will have to, they'll have to give up to Iranians' demands otherwise. So Iran can come out of this looking very, very good as long as they win the war, and also as long as they get a nuclear weapon. If they can get a nuclear weapon, then that would protect them from future attacks as well, and future nuke attacks even from Israel. Yeah, and so it's very, very important they get that nuclear weapon. So losers Bahrain, I think it just depends which way you look at it. If there's a regime change in Bahrain, which looks like it will, if Iran wins this war, I think Bahrain would have a complete regime change, and Bahrain would be a winner because of it. Because right now they're occupied. There's a massive military base in Bahrain, and they are complete puppets of the West, and they will be completely liberated. And I think that'll be a big winner for Bahrain. UAE, yeah, would be a big loser. I have to agree. I think UAE is finished as as a country. I don't think they will ever go back the same way again. I think property prices will crash. People will leave Dubai. It will never be the same again. And I think it's over for Dubai, guys. Completely over. I think if Iran wins this war, Iran would be the next country where all the money will flow. Because Iran, if they win this war, sanctions will be lifted. Iran will be the next superpower in the region, and you will see all the money going into Iran because Iran is like, how would you say, Iran has had heavy sanctions for 50 years and is really very, very undeveloped. And it's also been bombed by America and Israel. So there's going to be a lot of contracts available for companies to go in and develop Iran. You know, China is going to be there, Russia's going to be there, other Gulf countries are going to be there, Europe is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of money to be made in Iran. There's a lot of oil fields they will start putting their money in. There's a lot of minerals, rare earths, lithium mines all over Iran. There's a lot of money to be made, and you will see if Iran wins this war, a lot of money is going to go into Iran instead of Dubai. We used to be Dubai. Now you will see all the rich people around the world, all the crypto bros and business leaders. They're all going to go to Iran to invest because they will see Iran as the next regional superpower. So it's a logical step. So you will see a lot of money going out of Dubai and going into Iran. That's the way I see it. Ukraine, definitely a loser in this because all the resources are going into this Iran war. Europe is definitely a loser, and obviously Europe is going to suffer because of the high costs of oil and gas. But it really depends how Europe plays this. If Europe becomes friends with Russia and starts saying sorry to Russia for everything that they've done and starts, building up the Nord Stream again, start getting cheap gas from Russia again, I think Europe can come out of this looking very, very good. They have already refused to fight in Trump's war against Iran. So if Iran wins this, I think Europe can get a lot of contracts in Iran. I think Iran would be happy to open their doors to Europe and let them in, and Iran would give them access to its oil and gas. And I think Europe, depends how it plays. I think could come out better. And so far, they've refused to join Trump's war, so things are looking good for Europe. It's not that bad, but we'll see. And finally, um, US and Israel probably is going to come out looking the worst out of everyone. I think US will lose its, they will lose their air of invincibility. They would lose their stature in the world. They will lose their dignity. They'll pretty much lose everything. They'll lose the dollar. Um, Same with Israel. If the United States falls, Israel will fall with it. I don't see Israel surviving this. But we'll see, guys. We'll see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.